Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I'm Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about today?
Well, we've talked about the quantum world and quantum theory a little bit before, I think, but you know, apparently there's a possibility that it proves that we might be immortal. So we're
Okay.
going to talk about that a little bit.
All right. Well, as usual, I've not seen this video, so my
I haven't either.
reaction.
I haven't either.
Oh, you haven't either. Okay. All right. Well,
I
we'll
have not.
we'll both be reacting authentically here. All right. Here we go.
Absolutely.
It can feel as though the search for eternal life is an everlasting quest. There have now been hundreds of sometimes high-cost attempts in a bid to make it so that this life isn't all there is. Experiments and trials aiming to take us to immortality or to unlock evidence that there really is an afterlife waiting for us beyond this mortal realm. Now, though,
That
via
doesn't
one
sound good.
relatively simple idea, do we finally have what we've been looking for? This is Unveiled. And today we're taking a closer look at the quantum theory that seemingly proves you never die.
Do you need the big questions answered? Are you constantly curious? Then why not subscribe to Unveiled for more clips like this one and ring the bell for more thought-provoking content?
What if you knew that you were never going to die? Of all the what-if scenarios out there, it's one of the most common. And it's never quite as easy as it first appears. Yes, never dying means you can pretty much do anything you want forever and ever. But also, if you never die, then really, what's the point in living? We've focused more on the moral dilemmas in past videos, so be sure to check them out after this. But today, it's all about making immortality actually happen. Over the last decade or so, interest in quantum physics has skyrocketed. Scientists have unlocked the world of the very, very small, and with it have ushered in a new age for things like energy, computing, and medicine. More than all of that, however, our growing quantum knowledge has fundamentally reshaped what we think life is.
What if we never die?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm not going to be in some weird boat in that outfit with a fedora celebrating, but I mean, I think we're getting closer to that, to be honest with you. I mean, there's ways of transporting consciousness, and maybe it's going to get into that. We found this particular topic without really researching it because I thought, or we thought it'd be a good one, just sort of like just go off on and sort of react to. This is a pure reaction, but to me, I don't really want to live forever. I mean, it doesn't sound that good to me. Wouldn't that be really boring after a while? Wouldn't you get to that point of apathy and and being jaded about everything because you've seen all the cycles go on over and over again, nothing ever changes? I don't know. To me, I think that there's something to be said for a lifetime and getting the most out of it that you possibly can and having the most fun. But I don't know.
I mean, I think it depends on your lot in life, right? So, if you were poor, if you were like just in the depths of poverty, you would not want to live forever.
Sure.
You would want to have
No.
that
Yeah.
motorcycle hit you as you're crossing the street, right? But if you were a billionaire like the fedora guy, clearly has money, you'd want to live forever because you want to be able to enjoy the spoils of your wealth, right? And
I
again,
don't
I
know
think
though, but I mean, like, how many times can you like celebrate in that boat, right? Over thousands of years. I mean, how I mean, maybe it's
all right,
possible. I guess I don't know.
let's continue.
Yeah, I just rather continue.
The theory of biocentrism proposed by the US scientist Robert Lanza principally argues
Hmm.
that rather than the universe creating life, it's actually life that creates the universe. What we in ourselves call consciousness was actually there at the beginning of everything. And it's just that now, almost 14 billion years later, consciousness channels itself through us, human beings. As such, we've come to view life, the universe, and everything through our bodies, processed by our brains. But really, to some degree, none of that is
Hmm.
necessary. In this model, then, our brains and bodies might be viewed more like sophisticated modems, catching and translating signals and converting those into our own life experiences. But if the brain and body dies, if the modem is destroyed, then the signals don't just disappear as well. They remain, and might well be rerouted or recycled into some other host. In a biocentric reality, life is the signal. And while we may think that it's so reliant on our bodies for communication, it actually carries on regardless. It's life as we don't know it, but it's life all the same. So the theory goes. Lanza's ideas have divided opinion since they were first put forward in the late 2000s.
I don't know. To me, that sounds kind of interesting. It's like it kind of like a bit of a multiverse kind of a theory there, a little bit of Matrix kind of stuff.
And
That's interesting.
it also kind of dives into the I don't know, the phenomena like ghosts,
Hmm.
that they're not dependent on a physical vessel, right? And
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like if you were to go, so we're not quite ready to go on to the next, whatever routing you're being blocked for whatever reason. That makes a lot of sense too. It answers a lot of questions if that's true. Um, but it almost seems like too good to be true. If that makes any sense.
it does. I mean, it also seems like it's square peg and square hole type of approach, because it's kind of also speaking a little bit to reincarnation, right? So
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's continue here.
For some, biocentrism offers a bridge between the philosophical concepts of life and death and the physicality of it all. For
Well,
others,
we're
the
just talking
theory
about that.
is still far too vague, with little to no evidence as to what consciousness really is. In subsequent discussions and interviews, Lanza has highlighted the famed double-slit experiment to back biocentrism up. Via the experiment, scientists can show that light and matter can either be wave or particle, depending upon whether they are observed.
I've seen this.
Consciousness
Yeah.
creates the universe, not the other way around. Supporters also draw on the fine-tuning problem for further reasons as to why biocentrism makes sense. The fine-tuning problem shows that there are so many physical conditions to the universe that make it just right for life, that it seems impossibly unlikely that we should be here in a universe that's so suited to us. When viewed biocentrically, though, there is no fine-tuning problem, because consciousness obviously would aim for a reality that works. According to some, all of this inevitably leads to so-called life after death, to death being an illusion, because life and consciousness no longer end with our bodies and brains. Instead, it dissipates out of us like a kind of energy into the rest of the universe of its own making, once the vehicle of a body is no more. Again, biocentrism is sometimes criticized for the vagueness of this aspect. Although it's not as if this is the first attempt to place consciousness or a soul beyond our physical means. Discussions of that sort go all the way back to René Descartes, at least, in the 17th century in the Age of Enlightenment. More broadly still, biocentrism suggests that even the underlying principle of time is merely the product of consciousness inside our current bodies, creating a means through which to understand and remember. Time, and specifically the arrow of time, is then explained as a tool of our minds, rather than some kind of higher, immovable quality of the universe.
That last part is always
Jesus.
fascinated me, and also confused me, that time is a construct, right?
Mm.
And that time is immeasurable. I'm like, of course it's measurable. We've got clocks, and we've got
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
movement
I
of
mean,
the sands.
it's measurable from the past, from now to the past, right? The
Exactly.
future, not maybe not necessarily, but certainly the current. But yeah, I agree. It's like some sort of like a yoke on consciousness. It's like we're sort of trapped in this time and space, and we have to follow these rules. And what Einstein said about the speed of light is like we can't exceed that. Like there's a traffic cop there stopping us from going past the speed of light. It's like, is that really true? Everything that I've seen, or not seen, but read about, and even you can experience it yourself in certain ways, in like dream worlds and lucid dreaming, and the astral projections and things like that. It makes sense to me that there's not that many rules. Actually, there's probably no rules out there. It's just sort of tied to what we know in this particular lifespan. I don't know. It's really interesting what they're talking about there. And it doesn't necessarily say that you're yourself, right? You're an energy that goes on. It may not necessarily be yourself. as you know it,
Yeah,
going on into the
it's
future.
yeah, it's an interesting premise for sure, biocentrism, because again, it speaks to what you were just saying just now. It kind of speaks to the premise of reincarnation, right? And if this vessel is just perceiving the universe based on this particular vessel, then that's where individuality comes in, right? But then if it's recycling energy, that's where again the premise of reincarnation comes into play, where people are like remembering their past lives, right?
And that's kind of what I think a lot of that like the deja vu or that a shared experience from the past kind of makes a lot of sense if you think
Right,
about it that way. I've had deja vu. I mean, so many times, like I've been here before, or I've experienced something similar to that before, right? And
right.
it's not just a construct of the brain telling us this. I don't think it's that mundane. I think there's a lot more to it than that.
Oh, so are you a past lifer at this point?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? But I mean, I'm not closed off that idea. I think like there's some things to it, and I think maybe there is a construct of like hell and heaven is like what stage are you at? Like how many sins have you committed in previous lives? It makes a lot of sense to me. Like you're paying for what you did in the past, right?
Hmm.
Maybe we're not all Hitler, right? But maybe we've done some stupid things in the past that we have to pay for now, and
Well,
maybe the next one will be better.
and if it's all energy, then we possibly have a little Hitler in all of us. So I don't know if I'm really happy about that. But let's continue here.
Right. Indeed.
But finally, Lanza's biocentrism isn't the only such idea towards living forever either. The succinctly named quantum immortality model relies on that other underpinning central concept of modern theoretical science, the multiverse.
Jesus.
Developed out of
Oh
human
yeah, there we go.
many worlds interpretation, the idea is that for every choice or split that's ever made, a new branch of reality is formed. These branches never cross over, but run closely alongside one another, reflecting minor to major differences as a direct result of whatever caused the split in the first place. Over the years, science fiction writers have had a lot of fun with the story potential here, suggesting that huge events could well be determined upon a person's fleeting decision to buy an apple or a banana, for example. But what the multiverse could mean for life after death is something that science fact has pondered too. The basic premise of quantum immortality is that in a multiverse, there should always be a split possible through which a person survives.
Hmm.
A rerouting through reality, which means that again and again and again, they live rather than die. The idea can once more be linked back to key studies like the double slit experiment, which apparently suggests that all options are always possible until they're
Hmm.
observed and then are not.
Yeah.
Death is still death. It's still final. And it's not as though, even in the multiverse, you could rewind time to make it not happen. But after death, and if you follow the multiverse, it could be that on another level of the model, in another version of the endless realities, that particular death didn't happen, and life still wins out.
They're clapping. Love
I
it.
don't want them. I don't want that happening.
You lived.
Yeah, hey, you won a new car. Yeah, I don't think so. You sort of get away from me. But that is an interesting idea. Yeah, is it really a choice that is it the butterfly effect or something like that, or like I turned this way on the street, and then therefore they made some huge thing. Probably not. I mean, to me, it's more of like you know like major events that may have happened, and you made a decision one way or the other to do something
Right.
good or something bad or something stupid, and then it's affected your life for the rest of your life in that particular universe.
I mean, who
And
knows? Who knows if
yeah,
it's that discerning though? I mean, the premise of the multiverse is that it's every minute decision,
every possibility, right? Yeah,
subconscious, subconscious as well as conscious decision, right?
yeah.
So uh, it's that it's not like a distinct sliding doors moment that somebody can pinpoint, or I mean, basically, if you're pinpointing that, you're just pinpointing one of multiple possibilities
Yeah,
for that particular moment, right?
and there's no way for us to could possibly conceive of anything like that, which is even more kind of scary when you think about it.
Yeah, and we talked about in a previous episode too about this movie called Another Earth, and I think it's kind of a little bit of talks a little bit about this, where in that particular movie there were two versions of the same woman. In one version, somebody dies, and the other version, that person lives, and so um, it's an interesting premise altogether for sure. All right,
It
let's
is.
go ahead. Sorry.
I said as it is. Let's bring it home, yo.
All right.
The question to combine both biocentrism and quantum immortality is, could consciousness create not just the universe, but the multiverse as well? Can life move between multiverse strands, even if physical bodies cannot? When we're gone, will some kind of awareness, a soul by some definitions, still remain? And if that were to be the case, then could we, as we are, ever hope to know or understand what was happening? Physically speaking, death is the end of our bodies and brains, our vehicles for life,
Ugh.
and so perhaps we could never hope to understand life in quite the same way again. Not unless our consciousness were to end up in another human being. But that's a theory for another video. What's clear is that still nothing is certain. Biocentrism has divided opinion in recent times, yes, but it cannot truly claim to have cracked the mystery of life and death just yet. The same for quantum immortality, which is much more of a thought experiment than a physical surety. Again, for modern-day humanity, it can feel as though the search for eternal life is an everlasting quest. And that's good and encouraging in some ways, but not so much in others.
So
Yeah, and I think we kind of got to the
the
Go-
title of
go
this
ahead.
video is very clickbaity, man, because I mean, like towards the last 30 seconds here, he was saying that quantum theory has not proven that that we never die, but the title of this video is "Quantum Theory Proves You Never Die." That's clickbait.
There is, and but I think there's also a lot of evidence to suggest from what we know about the quantum realm now, not necessarily with the Ant-Man or the Wasp or Lady or whatever Captain America, but that there is this idea that there's a clear correlation to show that there is a multiverse kind of thing, and so maybe that's more of like what they're trying to say is like you don't ever really die because there's always some version of yourself going on. And maybe in that, like in this universe, if I die tomorrow, the energy is still there. It just sort of finds another way to go, like another multiverse to attach to. And maybe it's the same, maybe it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the theory of biocentrism. First of all, I've never heard of it, so I'm definitely gonna have to do a little bit more research on it. I feel is
Indeed.
is attempting to provide not necessarily answers, but certainly indications of answers for a lot of things. Again, like I was mentioning earlier, this theory can potentially be the explanation for paranormal encounters. This theory could potentially be the explanation for perceiving, uh, you know, um, deja vu, like you were saying, like perceiving past lives and whatnot. It's and then in terms of the immortality type of thing, I mean, there's another kind of branch of metaphysics that talks about the consciousness and how it's just out there, right? And how you could actually tap into the infinite consciousness that's out in the universe. I know this is kind of like a weird direction for this video, but um, I was kind of a believer of that in like maybe 20 years ago, and mainly because of like ailments, like how the possibility of tapping into the infinite consciousness can cure you of certain ailments. But
Right.
but it's interesting, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's the thing. It's like it is more of a thought, more it doesn't prove anything, but it is kind of clickbaity. But it's a thought experiment again of kind of what could be and what we know scientifically about that particular subject is, more and more every year we learn a little bit more,
Hmm.
and we're getting closer to it. Are we going to get there to that? God element or whatever it happens to be. I don't know, but
Hmm.
it is pretty fascinating to sort of think about. And follow it from a logical perspective. I prefer to look at it more like that, more so than like hoping and metaphysical BS. It makes sense to me that the energy that we have in our consciousness can go somewhere else. It makes sense to me that we're just meat sacks essentially holding on to whatever we're doing right now. It'll be something different later on, right? It kind of makes sense. But I mean, who knows?
Who
At the end of
knows?
the day. Yes, yes.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe. And on YouTube, click that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.